Yeah, I've got a list of the questions so that we can kind of go through it and do all of that stuff. So hopefully that'll be good.
Awesome.
Okay, so we should be live. Hopefully it's working. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. If you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, what do you do?
Of course. So thank you for having me, first of all. So, hey, as people know now by now, hopefully, my name is Greg. I'm currently living in Portugal. So I
Oh, nice.
moved from the UK last summer. So all good. But the background is this. I've watched my mum and my two sisters struggle with their weight all their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a bigger kid when I was younger
Yeah.
until I got to sport and puberty hit and all that stuff. But what really upset me was all of the BS that women get told about how to lose weight, how to stay in shape, how to get stronger, how to look after their health.
Yeah.
So went and did sports science and all of that stuff, but then went into leadership roles. So lots of management and understanding people, because that's a
Mm-hmm.
big part of it. And then I would do my personal training and my nutrition on the side. Then I moved to UCLH Hospital in London, and I used to run women's health and gynecology. So that gave me
Wow.
some more insight. So I got to spend time with some world-class endocrinologists as well. And I've just done so much nutrition and all that stuff. But yeah, I just see all the BS, frankly, that women get told that stops them in their tracks. And I just found I was fairly good at it. And here I am. Here I am.
Brilliant. Yeah, and there is a lot, isn't there? I mean, there's just a huge amount of absolute nonsense that gets told to people, and I think people just get completely confused
Yep.
about what is right and what is wrong, because unfortunately a lot of the people who spout a lot of rubbish are very convincing at what they're saying, and people really do fall for it, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, the human brain loves ease, right? So if
Mm.
we can find an easier way to get from A to B, we'll look for it and it will appeal to us.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, marketers understand this and they will say, well, actually, you don't need to go this difficult way. You need to go just from here to here with this one quick fix, and it's going to solve all your problems.
Yeah.
And that sounds sexy. That sounds like, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
Especially for many women who have maybe been on diets and stuff since they were 8 years old. I've had clients tell me, my mum put me on a diet from when I was younger, and I'm like, wow. So I can see why women want those faster fixes, but then they just make it longer for you.
Yeah. What would you say is kind of the most problematic thing at the moment? Like, what's kind of the big thing that you sort of see coming up with people who kind of come and seek your help, basically?
I think this will be a common one for your ladies as well, for that midlife bit. Hormones are stopping you losing your weight. Now, stopping you
Mm.
losing weight. Now, this is going to be controversial, and I know it's going to upset some ladies. And often I'll get but you're a man, how would you know? And I'm like, hey, I spend a lot of time with a lot of ladies, and I understand. I think when perimenopause comes up, it's obviously a very difficult time, and it can change a whole lot of things. Things seem to just go crazy. A lot of women often feel, I guess, out of control, I
Yeah.
guess, is what they come to me and say, that I just don't know what's going on with me anymore.
Mm.
So definitely hormones have a role to play, for sure.
Yeah.
However, hormones generally are a messenger based on what we do to our bodies and our internal environment. So that means we do have an element of control, which
Mm-hmm.
is what we eat, how we move, how we sleep, how we look after ourselves.
Yeah. And do you find that people are just kind of coming and going, well, there's nothing I can do because I'm in perimenopause, and that means that everything is going to, all the weight's going to come on and I can't do anything about that?
And I think that is what happens is we get, like, women especially, men do it to some degree, but women especially spend so much time looking after everybody else, spend so much time working,
Yeah.
So when you've eaten 3 chocolate bars, you probably don't even register it because you're also looking after everybody else.
Hmm.
So I can see why when people hear things like it's just calories in, calories out, why women get upset about it, because in your brain, you're like, well, I didn't eat anything. I don't eat that much.
Yeah, as far as they're concerned, they've hardly eaten anything and they're very, very, very hungry, and it
Yeah,
doesn't seem right.
because a chocolate bar is like that nowadays. It's like that. It's
Hmm.
tiny, especially with shrinkflation, right?
Yeah.
At least back in the day, a proper chocolate bar was like, yeah, it was something you actually would
Yeah.
enjoy.
It felt like you'd actually had something. Like,
Exactly. So one chocolate bar at say 200, 300 calories, you take 2 bites and it's gone. But at the same time, you're looking after kids, you're running your business, you're trying to look after everybody else. So there's no time spent on you looking at what you do for yourself.
mm,
And that's the really hard bit. So it feels like I don't eat that much.
yeah.
2 chocolate bars, a pack of crisps, a latte just to make you feel good for that 4 o'clock slump.
Hmm.
And then your main meal. And then when you're sitting down Netflix and chill, there's a little bit of snack in there. Before you know it, you're on 2,000 calories and you have no idea what happened. You're like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It is calories in, calories out. That's the very base level of it. But there's so many other factors that go into that equation.
Hmm.
Hormones, health, activity, mindset, even how you eat as a family and your background. Imagine me telling a client who's, say, Irish, you can never eat potatoes again. That's
Probably not going to go down well, is it?
exactly. And I'm too young to die. So I'm not going to do that. So you have to look at all of these different factors and understand the person as a whole, as an individual, before you take it down to that very baseline level.
Yeah. So with your women that you work with, kind of where do you start with them? What's your sort of first step? What can people do maybe as their first step if they're not able to kind of work with someone like you, but they want to kind of try something for themselves?
So what people will normally go to is what I call the mechanical stuff. What
Hmm.
should I eat? How should I exercise, etc. And I think one of the questions, if I remember rightly, was, should I be doing HIT training? I'm sure there was a question about that. So
Yeah.
I remember that one. The bit we all need to go to first is the emotional part.
Mm.
Who do you want to be? Why do you want to be that way? What is it going to do for you? What is it costing you now?
Yeah.
Because no change happens without emotion. Emotion is energy emotion. So when I get a client, the first thing I talk about is, where are you now? Who do you want to be?
Hmm.
Are you willing to go all in on being the person that you want to be and feel the way you want to? Does that mean that you're going to be better for your kids or your grandchildren? Does that mean you can be a better partner, a better business owner? Whatever that means for you, we need to find that first.
Yeah.
If we don't find it, nothing's happening. I
Yeah.
can
That's it.
nutrition program, I can put together the best training program, the best sleep protocol. You ain't going to do it. So
Yeah.
that's the start. Who are you? Who do you want to be? Let's work through that vision of yourself.
Yeah. And that's really true for anything, isn't it? Any change that you want to make, you've got to start with really why you want to do it, who
Mm-hmm.
you want to be, why you're not that person already. It's the
Mm.
kind of that base, and I think that's what a lot of people don't do. They just go, okay, I want to be a stone lighter than I am now, and what do I have to do to get there? And
Exactly.
that's then you just end up on that roller coaster, don't you? Because you've never sorted out the
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 deep.
underneath, the stuff that's really happening
Yeah.
for you as an individual. um yeah, so yeah, I think that's just a really important point that a lot of people don't really consider. They just think about, well, give me a program and I'll follow that program, but you have to do the deeper mindset work first, don't you, to really make a change.
Yeah, because before by Wednesday, you're knee deep in chocolate and ice cream again.
Yeah.
Because what the plan wasn't sustainable for you. So I guess that would be number one. That's the first point. Number two is a real assessment of actually where you are. Like, so frankly, I don't care about the scale.
Yeah.
My clients don't weigh themselves. Well, sometimes they do. That's not my thing. But I think about what your body can do, what it feels like, what it looks like, what it gives you. Think about all of that stuff, and that's how we measure your progress.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, what's your weight on the scale this week? Because the scale, all the scale tells you is your body as a mass in relation to gravity. So if I cut your arm off, you're going to lose weight. Woohoo! Like, there's not going to be much fun with an arm missing, is it? So
yeah.
I think how we assess what that means. So it might be this week, Emily, right? Instead of 10,000 steps, which everyone needs to go, feels like they have to do, this week, could we do 5,000, 6,000 steps a day? Would that be good for you? Yeah, I can do that. Obviously, conversely, we have to stop the other monster, which is the you're not doing enough monster.
Yeah.
Say, look, let's do 7,000 steps, and you're already thinking, well, no, I've got to do 10,000 because influencer on TV says I have to do 10,000 steps. Let's look at your lifestyle. Like, is that a real possibility? Probably not. So let's do the things we can do, and let's learn to win daily. What's a daily win?
Yeah.
Then we stack those wins and stack those habits.
Yeah. And I think, that's definitely something that really needs to be kind of told to people kind of over and over again, that it's like, it's not just about you ticking off a whole load of things and putting more pressure on yourself. It's actually, what's realistic for your, not just for your goals, but what you can actually do. And, that I think a lot of people really struggle with that kind of idea that you can start a bit smaller. You don't have to go straight for the full, 7 days a week doing all the things.
Yeah, it never ends well. Never ends. So.
Yeah, because one of the questions that came through was, which I think is probably a classic that so many people have, is, I've tried all the diets, nothing ever works for me, or it works for a bit, but then, then it doesn't. And, everyone's always promising me that this one will work and this one will work. And, you must come across that quite a lot, really, people just so confused about what they should really be doing, and on that kind of roller coaster yo-yo of never having a good relationship with food or anything.
Well, as you mentioned, the relationship about food, first of all, that's about relationship with self. The food is kind of the gateway, but actually it's about relationship with self as far as I'm concerned. So that's number one. So for that person, my thing would be, hey, start on what do you really want to have to happen? Number two, and this is going to be very controversial, I would do between 3 and 7 days of really being accurate and open and honest with yourself about what you consume.
Yeah, that's a hard one for people, isn't it?
It's a really hard one. And this is where people will rebel against, calories in, calories, it's my hormones. Okay, but for the minute, you need to take steps to control those hormones. So one of the things you can do is on what you eat. So first of all, I would assess, like, let's just see what you're actually eating. What are you really consuming? Download an app. And this is going to really upset some people, and if someone has an eating disorder, I wouldn't suggest doing this, of course. But for general population, when you go to the greengrocer or you go to the butcher's, you say, I want 4 pounds or whatever, or kilos of mince or whatever you say, so that you make sure you get the right amount of food. So why don't we do the same with our food and say, what am I really consuming here? You have to take away the judgment. Include everything. Do not skip. Do not cut a chocolate bar, because that's a self-judgment thing. That is very. I'm going to be perfect. Greg said, I'm going to track my calories, so now I'm going to be perfect. No.
Yeah.
Assess where you are first.
Yeah, that must be actually a really hard thing to get people to do, because we all have that, you know, oh, we're being tested. I'm not gonna write this down. I'm gonna say that I didn't have those 3 biscuits. No, because otherwise they'll think I'm really bad.
Yeah. This, first of all, you can eat chocolate and ice cream and still change your body composition. You can, that's easily done. So first of all, remove that judgment. Food is food. There is no good and bad food. That's my first one.
Yeah.
The other option is to take pictures of it, just to give you a, so you can do that. So you either track it on with a scale, you can take pictures, or you can just write it down. And you will surprise yourself, because we all have food amnesia. Yeah, the amount of times I've spoken to people, oh, I didn't eat much yesterday. As the conversation unfolds and the subconscious comes out, oh yeah, I did have a extra. I did eat some of the kids' leftovers as well, because I don't want them to waste it. Oh, I
Yeah.
did eat a bit off my husband's plate because of X, Y, you know. So these incremental things add up, and before you know, you're like, oh my God. So first of all, when you get to that stage of assessing, you understand it. That's not your fault. Again, it's just the world, everything is bigger, everything's faster, no judgment. So then look at patterns. There's going to be patterns of the week where you probably eat more for some reason or another. Why do you eat more on a Thursday? Is it because you've got a meeting at work with people that you hate and it stresses you out? So then you dive into a bottle of vino and you promise yourself it's only going to be 2 glasses. But before you know it, the wine's gone.
Yeah, that's a real thing, isn't it? I think, you know, a lot of women in midlife do really start to rely on that glass of wine at the end of the day to help them relax. And you know, no judgment. Everybody, you know, needs to relax and chill out. But sometimes I think they forget that is also kind of contributing not only to their possibly, you know, any issues they're having with, you know, diet and fitness, but also just in general, like sleep quality and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. So look at patterns. That would be my first thing. For most women, I would say don't do intermittent fasting. This is a really big one,
Right.
really controversial again.
Yes, because sorry, that was definitely a question that came up, because fasting has been, there's a real you know, there's that fast like a girl
Oh,
that's been out,
oh
yeah.
my God. Oh,
And people really love it. They're really, you know, they've gone all in on the fasting based on that book. But then they're also being told by other people don't do fasting, and then they're just really confused about what they should be doing.
okay, I'll break it down. This is not to say fasting's bad. I have some clients that fast, some that don't. Generally, what I find is this: you wake up in the morning, you've overslept a bit because you didn't go to sleep the night before. Rush, 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 rush. Got to get ready for work. Got to start business. Got a Zoom call in a minute. What's going on? You don't eat. We call it fasting. We don't eat. We skip and skip. Let me walk into the kitchen and just grab something to eat quickly. Probably not, and it's never going to be the best thing ever. Get to lunch, have a nice big lunch. Probably it might not be the ideal composition. Great, okay, that's what it is. What it is. But because you're already hungry from the morning, your appetite hasn't been satiated with good food, you start snacking in the afternoon. If you're at work, there's always a Rosie who brings the cakes around. Like in every office, there's always someone or someone who's got a desk with chocolates on it and treats. Always, it's to perk everybody up. So you have that. So before you know it, again, you've just overconsumed lots of calories and you haven't even realized that you're doing that whole thing of binding. So my thing is this: if I can get you to eat 20 to 30 grams of protein first thing in the morning, you're going to feel fuller. It's going to keep you going until about 12, 1 o'clock. You're not going to have this like need to eat at 10, 11 o'clock. Must eat something. And it's going to keep you nice and stable. If we can do that for a while, then, and if intermittent fasting feels like something you want to do, have at it. But let's get some stable, consistent patterns in first. Let's get you eating enough protein. Will be the first. Eat enough protein. Most women think that, and I look at their plate and I'm like, the protein's that big and the carbs are this big. I'm like, yeah, we need to address that balance.
Yeah, and that's another question that definitely people have asked is, should I be eating more protein? How much protein should I be eating? What's, what do you recommend in terms of, obviously everyone's different and everyone's got, different things, but generally what people should be kind of aiming for in terms of that?
So a very easy way to do it. I mean, there's a nice little formula you can work out, gives a good approximation, but at least 3 portions of between 25 to 30 grams of protein at each meal. Done.
Okay.
Easy way to do it is just use your palm. It's like, hold on, I'm not in the camera. Roughly a nice palm size of protein with every meal. Now that can be different. That can be chicken, fish, Greek yogurt, tofu, beans if you're vegetarian or vegan. But when you're creating your food, just start with protein in mind.
Yeah.
And you're going to be onto a winner straight away from that.
And why is that? Why is protein the kind of the base for the food? Why, what is it doing for us in terms of, especially for like women in midlife? What does it help with?
So there's a couple of things. One of the things that nobody talks about is enzymes. So every enzyme in your body is made from protein. Hormones can't be got rid of, broken down without appropriate enzymes. So we need that. So that's 1. 2, muscle mass. Okay, so sarcopenia is happening all the way through life. It just means muscle loss all the way through our lives. In order to keep that high, plenty of protein. 2, it doesn't pump blood sugar as much as possible, as much as carbs do. And it also helps regulate blood sugar when you eat with fats and carbs in the complete meal. So you don't get that hunger. And it's also slower to digest as well. So it stays in your stomach longer. You feel like feel a bit fuller and you're ready to go. So 4 reasons to eat protein. But I just want to go back to the intermittent fasting really quickly, because I think there's a really good point I just wanted to make. Every diet that you have been on in your life, we can go Atkins, intermittent fasting, Weight Watchers, Slimming World, you name it, we can put a brand on it. If you look at the pattern of all of them, they're all trying to get you into what we call a calorie deficit. And that is all they do. It's very clever. It's brilliant. It's almost magic. So for those who listen back to this, a calorie deficit doesn't mean you have to track calories. What it means is that the energy you've got coming in is less than the energy you expend every day. If that's less, the body has to make up for that energy deficit with breaking down fat cells to create energy. That's all that. That's the very simplistic view of what happens.
Yeah.
Look at every diet. It's a unique way to get you to eat less calories. Intermittent fasting, skip breakfast, only eat 2 meals a day. Oh, guess what? It's calorie deficit.
Surprise, surprise. You're eating less food.
Exactly. Keto or Atkins diet. Don't eat carbs, which most people eat most of. It's like for most 67% of their calories. Oh, okay. Now I lost weight. Must be my hormones, Greg. No, you just stopped eating this much pasta, and you got fuller quicker because it's proteins and fats. That is all.
Yeah.
So I really want people to understand that there's nothing flashy about any of these diet strategies.
Yeah, I think that's a really important message, though, because people really do, as you said, it's marketing, and the marketers are very clever, and they do really make it seem like their diet is the magical one that's going to solve all your problems, and you're never going to have to worry about doing anything as long as you follow this protocol. But yeah, like you said, actually, at the end of the day, there's nothing really magic about any of it. It is just eat less than you burn, and you will burn fat and lose some weight.
Yeah, and I think the other problem is the opposite extreme, where I think a lot of women will think they have to go on the lowest calories possible in order to lose weight faster. That's dangerous territory because we know what happens. So just to remind everyone, starvation mode is a myth. I want to clear that up right now.
Yeah.
So this belief that if you eat too low calories, your body goes into starvation mode doesn't happen.
No.
Study after study after study after study. And there's obviously people in the world that are less fortunate than us, man, women, and child, who are starving and they are skin and bone. So that's good. But what happens is you go Monday to Wednesday with lettuce and chicken. By Thursday, you're going to be knee deep in aero bars. And you're not going to, because of the shame loop that we go through, you're not going to come out and go, do you know what happened? The diet was too restrictive. I felt tired. I got really hungry because our hunger hormones go up.
Yeah.
And I just needed to eat and I wanted some chocolate and it was there.
Yeah.
But you're not going to admit that. So, yeah, that's all that happens. So starvation mode doesn't exist.
No. And also it's really important for women to remember that actually if you're wanting to be healthy, it's not just about the food you're eating, it's also about everything else that you're doing. And if you want to be able to build some muscle and protect your bones, you're going to need some energy.
Exactly that. So trying to go too low calorie so oftentimes so if I've got someone who's like, no, I want to know my calories and I want to learn how to track, awesome, I'll set the calories and I'm like, oh my god, I can eat that much food. I'm like, yeah, eat that food. But what happens is we have this we got that food amnesia where before, when we gained weight, we didn't know how much we were eating. We had no clue. That's why it's good to assess first, because then you can really see how much you're eating. Then when you go into, say, if you take off 200 to 500 calories off what you're eating now, I guarantee you should start to see some results.
Yeah.
And you just keep eating at those calories until you get to a plateau for at least 2-3 weeks. Obviously, menstrual cycle plays a part in that, so we have to be careful. But on average, start seeing results because as you lose weight, there's less of you, so you need less energy.
Yeah.
So then if you start to hit a plateau, two things happen. You either got to that point where it's become boring. So what your brain's like, oh, I'm not that interested anymore. This is where most people fall off. So they're not as intentional and foods creep back in. Or you might be at a plateau. So we just drop your calories by maybe 100 to see what happens. But the goal is to be able to do this for life. And then there's also what we call maintenance calories. So it's like, where are we going to get you to a point where you can just sustain as you are? And you should have those things built into how you're going to get into the shape that you want to get into.
Yeah, that idea that you don't always have to be on a diet. You just need to get to the point where you're happy and then
cruise control. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is, should be really good news for people, really, because, a lot of people have spent their whole lives restricting and then falling off the wagon and then restricting again. The fact that there is a way to just make it easy and then maintain it and not have to just be kind of constantly on this cycle of looking for the next magic pill. It should be good news for people.
I do think there is this kind of badge of honor, though, of like, I've heard it in pubs before, and you've heard a group of people, not just women and men as well. Well, I'm doing type 2 diet. It's really hard. And I'm doing the intermittent fasting. Oh, it's really, really hard. It's hard. It's almost like your way needs to be suffering. And I think this is a story that goes back a long time for many women, which is it has to be hard. I have to cut out things. It doesn't have to be.
No.
It does not have to be hard. The hard is your resistance to it being easy.
Yeah.
That's the hard.
Yeah. I think that's a really, really good point, is actually, it doesn't have to be hard, but the hard bit is getting people to understand that is the case and that they don't have to be punishing themselves constantly. It's, it doesn't have to be tough. Like, you don't have to hate doing exercise, you don't have to hate your diet and in order to get results.
It should be the easiest thing in the world. Like, we want to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Why not? Like, you don't have to suffer. There's no badge. There's no badge. There's no reward for yo-yo dieting, and then the doctor says, well, you're bordering on diabetes. There's no badge for that. So
No.
let's just do the easy thing, shall we?
Yeah. And what would your advice be to, a lot of women find that they feel like they're doing everything right, but they still, they feel like they're just getting loads of weight on their middle and that they can't shift that, which obviously, is something that a lot of people struggle with as they go through kind of perimenopause and into menopause. Do you have any kind of tips for that, or is it literally just stick with the
first thing is, it's not even stick to, let's assess and not guess, first of all. I want to know everything you're eating, and we have to be honest with ourselves. Number two, I want to look at sleep. Sleep's massively underrated, and I know obviously some women suffer from hot flashes. Some women wake up in the middle of the night as well, so that's another issue to address. I can talk about that in a minute if you want me to. But I want to know what's going on with those two, because often when you see people don't sleep very well, they don't eat very well the next day.
Yeah.
Decision making becomes poorer. Do you know what? I'm too tired to cook tonight. Let's just get a takeaway, sneaky takeaway tonight, because you haven't got that resistance. So those would be the two things I want to understand. If we start to see some other issues, then I do have someone I work with who can do labs. We can look at things like blood sugar and see what's happening and how they're controlling insulin and all that stuff. But I would say 99.9% of the time, when women get honest with what's really going on, and I think that's the thing, is it's being vulnerable enough to say, do you know what? I know I said I was sticking to the diet, but I was tired from work. This happened. Okay, cool. At least we know. So then we can make changes. But I think that, again, that's where the shame cycle sometimes comes in. It's like, well, I failed. I don't want to admit that.
Yeah.
It makes me look like a weak person. No, human.
Yeah.
I had some wine gums the other day. It's beautiful. Oh, lovely. If you bring me a bag of wine gums, do not leave wine gums anywhere near me, because I know what will happen to them. 700 calories gone, like that. So if you feel like nothing is working, the first pace is to assess what's really going on. Like, we have to get honest with ourselves, and look at your fiber intake as well. Are you eating enough fruit and veg? Often we're not. So protein and fiber would be the two that I would really look at. And then understand, are you moving each day with intention? Like, I think that's the one thing we forget. And a lot of the ladies may have gym anxiety. They've never been to a gym. The one thing I will say is your body is the gym. You can train with intention, exercise with intention, no matter where you are. So make your body the gym.
Yeah.
And I have a very big saying as well. It's like, diet for weight, exercise for shape. So we don't use exercise for losing weight. We use exercise to get you strong, build muscle, flexibility, mindset, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The food takes care of the weight loss. We let the exercise take care of the things it's supposed to take care of.
Yeah. You're not earning your calories in the gym. You're building a body that is going to take you to where you want to be.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Page. So I mean, if you've got any ladies who are really stuck and they're really struggling, I'm more than happy to field a few questions for them and stuff. Maybe I can free up some time in my calendar and I can say, look, if you want to, I'm happy to chat to a few ladies. We can do that.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be brilliant. Yeah. So is there anything else that you kind of wanted to talk about? I think we've covered most of the things that kind of came up.
There was a question about HITT training, wasn't there?
Oh, there was a question about HITT. I think somebody who'd said that they have been told on both sides, you should be doing HITT and you shouldn't be doing HITT. And which one? which one is right.
Okay, so let me preface this first. When I'm building a training program for someone, the first place I want to get them to is strong. So for all the ladies, I would say prioritize weight training first if you can.
Yeah.
And when I say weight training, it means resistance. That can be body weight training, etc. Get strong, build muscle is my number one. Number two, some form of cardiovascular work that you like. Okay, so as a measure of how long you're going to live, your ability to take in oxygen is a key measure. Do that through cardiovascular work. So let's keep that in there. HIT is not going to be bad for you, provided you've got good technique, and on the other side, you can recover.
Yeah.
So if I've got a client who's not sleeping very well, just in a bit of a funk, I'm not going to say go and do a HIT session.
No.
I'm going to be like, get some sleep, go for a walk. I'd even say sometimes miss your workout. Like I've told clients before, you are not working out today. You've had 4 hours sleep, go back to bed. So that comes first for me.
Yeah.
HIT is not inherently bad. I think, again, it's a bit of a marketing ploy. It's like, well, it boosts your cortisol. Well, yeah, of course it's going to boost your cortisol. Cortisol's job is to get sugar into the blood because you're going to do something. It's part of this job. Of course it's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you look at studies, cortisol soon comes down very quickly after exercise. Cortisol is doing its job, like insulin as well.
Yeah.
It's
That's
hormone that
I
gets.
think there's a lot of people are talking about hormones a lot more. So people are talking about insulin and cortisol, but without a real understanding of the functions within the body. And obviously we know that cortisol is a stress hormone. So people think, oh, that's bad because it's a stress hormone and we don't want that. But it has its function. It wouldn't exist if it didn't have a function in the body.
We'd all be wiped out in the caveman days if we didn't have cortisol. We would see a saber-toothed tiger and be like, oh, I'm not going to run. It's okay. I'm going to take my time.
Yeah, I just chill here. It's fine.
Well, I'm chill. Come here, kitty. So, yeah, no. So we need to understand that. Number two, with cortisol, if you feel that's a really big issue, get proper testing. Like proper. Don't TikTok it and diagnose it. Please do not do that. Stop it. I know the marketers will be like, Emily, if you feel really stressed, if you're not been sleeping, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, that's me. Oh, it must be my cortisol.
Yeah.
Assess first, don't guess, is my big one for that. You mentioned insulin. Insulin's another one that gets a really bad rap. Insulin gets talked about as the fat storing hormone, is what people say.
Yeah.
The way I like to describe insulin is this. When you eat food, it gets converted into glucose into the bloodstream. The body doesn't want to have glucose in the bloodstream for a long amount of time because it gets toxic. That's why diabetics have problems and they have to take bits of their body off and stuff. We don't want that. Insulin's job is to help clear that and get the nutrients into cells.
Yeah.
So it's like insulin comes along, knocks on the door of the cell opens and says, okay, we can take the glucose in so we can metabolize it and do what we need to do with all that stuff. Insulin's other job is, if then we can't get rid of the sugar in the blood into the cells and muscles, where can we put it next? So the next stage is then your liver. Yeah, because the liver can store glycogen.
Yeah.
Next place, if we have too much, so again, we're talking quantities, then it will say, well, let's save it for a rainy day. There might be a zombie apocalypse. Okay, cool. Let's save it for then.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the fat cells.
Yeah.
So if you ask any type 1 diabetic, insulin is a lifesaver. They will all die without injecting insulin. So let's not demonize it. Let's understand it.
So this is not a question that we got asked, but I'm just interested because I've seen a lot about the Zoe app. What do you think of that?
Oh Lord. Okay, controversial take. Tim Spector is what most celebrity scientists do, I see nowadays. They cherry pick the data to suit the narrative.
Yeah.
Rather than looking at all of the studies. Okay, well, we found this one study and it was based on a rat in somewhere. So
Yeah.
first of all, a lot of studies that have been done on intermittent fasting have been done on rats and mice.
Because we're all the same as rats, obviously.
Obviously, so, a rat has to go for a day's work. Rats are really stressed out at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. So there have definitely been some good results in human trials, for sure. That's not to say there hasn't. But I think people need to understand most of these celebrity scientists, if they have a brand attached, they will have to sell something. For me, the anxiety of having to check my blood sugar after I've just eaten everything would drive me up the wall.
Yeah.
I can tell you foods that won't raise your blood sugar too high, but that's not the issue. The issue is when you get the blood sugar spike, is how quickly it comes down.
Mm.
So yes, of course, a piece of bread is going to raise your blood sugar. Like it's going to. It's pure glucose and sucrose. Like, of course.
Yeah.
Issue then is how sensitive is your body to insulin, so it can bring it down again. So the problem for most people is they have a spike in insulin and glucose, and then it starts to come down. But then Rosie with the cakes comes around, back up again. Then someone else reaches in the door. Oh, I've got a treat here. And so we keep it elevated by eating all the time.
Yeah.
The snack industry that we've got, that's probably a bigger issue. If you're sat, like, you can Google glycemic index, it will tell you the foods that are going to raise your blood sugar. You do not need to stick something on your arm unless you're diabetic.
No. Good. I'm glad that you said that, because that's exactly what I think about the whole thing. I just think it's an eating disorder in a packet. Like, it's making people just so paranoid about food. And it's like, food is, just because it spikes your blood sugar doesn't mean that the food is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't want to be doing it all the time. And like you said, that because actually, that, if you just eat chocolate and cake all the time, you're probably having a bit too much sugar.
It's crazy. It baffles me, but I think what happens is, like I say, people are trying to look for a solution to their big problems they've had for a long time, and I get that. And if you can find the angle for marketing, you're in. You've got a line. For me, I'd rather someone comes to work with me, I never have to talk to them again, because they go, Greg, do you know what? I know how to live my life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Go do it. That's what I want. But to hook people up to all these gadgets, like the fast like a girl. I read the book. Oh my God. So in this part of your cycle, you're supposed to fast.
Oh, it's so complicated.
Like, what? It's mental. She's a chiropractor, by the way, just so everyone knows.
I know that is something that she does not make very clear at all, that she's not a medical doctor. She is a chiropractor. And American chiropractors in particular are a whole breed of their own, aren't they?
Oh, they're shocking. Shocking. Dr. Fung, he's a kidney doctor. So Tim Spector. So all of these kind of what I call.
Is Tim Spector like a
He's a professor.
Oh, he's a professor of like microbiology or something, isn't he? Like he's to do with disease. I don't know how he ended up as a.
Because disease wasn't lucrative enough. You can't make enough money in disease. It's a bit boring, really, unless it's COVID. So the industry is like, oh, how can I need a retirement plan? And I'm not saying he hasn't helped people. I'm not knocking. But what I'm saying is that a lot of this, what I call infobesity, is the problem. And it doesn't let people trust themselves.
Yeah.
People are just like, I don't know what to do now, Greg. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Brilliant. So, yeah, thank you so much for taking time out to join me tonight and answer the questions. Do you want to do a little spiel? And I'll obviously put your information back in the group, but just tell people where they can find you and how they can get in contact with you if they need to.
Cool. Before I go, what I will say is this: thank you for having me, for starters, and letting me rant.
No, it's good. I think it's good to cut through all the nonsense, because there's just a huge amount, isn't there?
Yeah, and I'd just say to your ladies, like, learn to trust yourselves more. That'll be the big one. Trust your decisions. Inherently deep down, you know what good food looks like.
Yeah.
And you know, if your plate is the same size as your partner's and you're 5'3" and he's 6'6", you know, if the plate portions are the same, there's a problem there.
Mm.
So just start making logical and put some trust in yourself. That'll be the first thing. Do some strength work and really lock in your sleep. Like, I can't. Sometimes I don't even talk to people about sleep. I'm like, get some sleep. If you're sleeping 5 hours a night, is a very boring fact for people. But they did a study, and the ladies that were underslept, so under 6 hours of sleep, lost more muscle tissue than they lost fat tissue.
Yeah.
Despite
I mean,
groups losing weight.
yeah, sleep is so important. It, it is the basis of everything. I always say to people, like when I work with new people, I always say to them, look, you need to get your sleep sorted, because everything else you do will be less effective if you can't sleep. You can't change how you feel. You can't change what you do if you're exhausted.
If your brain chemistry isn't right, and because you're sleep deprived, every decision you make the next day is going to be not the best one for you or your family. So sleep first, worry about exercise later. But if you can, yes, get in the gym or do some weight training 3 times a week. Aim to get stronger, because I think for most of your ladies, they're not trying to lose weight.
No.
Think they want to lose weight. They don't. They want to change their body composition. So they want less fat, more muscle, etc. And if they focus on that, they'll see much more longevity. That's my last little spiel. So if you like listening to me rant, and I'm normally on Facebook or LinkedIn, Greg Fearon. I do have a podcast which has like 100 odd episodes on it. Yes, which I'm about to start again. So I'll give you the link for that. So yeah, come say hello. And yeah, Emily, if you want me to, I can put up like 4 slots and do some half-hour Q&A for some of these ladies if they're interested. Just
fantastic. That's an amazing offer. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It's been great. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm just going to end the stream now.
Thank you very much for having me. Take care.
Cheers.